Welcome back to Cars Analyzed. I'm Chad, and today we're going to take a closer look at the 2022 Toyota GR86. We're going to compare the 2022 Toyota GR86 to three of its competitors based on pricing, engine size and power output, performance, 0 to 60 times, quarter mile times, stopping distances and lateral acceleration, EPA mileage ratings, and dimensions. Dimensions including external size, internal dimensions, cargo volume, and overall vehicle weight. If you're interested in hearing more, then stay tuned. The three competitors include the Mazda MX-5 Miata, the Hyundai Veloster N, and the Subaru WRX. If you're wondering how I chose those three competitors, I wanted to include what is well known to be a direct competitor to the Toyota GR86, and that is the Mazda MX-5 Miata and Miata RF. I wanted to include a viable front-wheel drive option, the Hyundai Veloster N. I also wanted to include an all-wheel drive competitor, the Subaru WRX. I also wanted to make sure that I kept it fair based on pricing. So all cars must have an MSRP of less than $35,000. So let's start off by taking a look at pricing. The Toyota GR86 comes in two different trim levels. It can be had as low as $28,725 to $31,800. In comparison is the Mazda MX-5 Miata. So the Miata comes in five different trim levels. And remember, the Miata has a soft top. It also has a hard top, the RF version. And then it has different trim levels within that, within the soft and the hard top. The Subaru WRX comes in four different trim levels, starting off at $30,600 and topping off at $43,390. And lastly, we have the Hyundai Veloster N with one trim level and an MSRP of $33,545. So what do you get for the money? Let's take a look at the engine size for each one of these. Starting with the Toyota GR86. The Toyota has a 2.4 liter four-cylinder boxer engine with a 6-speed manual and rear-wheel drive, puts out 228 horsepower and 184 foot-pounds of torque. This is an increase from the prior model in which the Toyota had a 2-liter four-cylinder and only put out 205 horsepower and 156 foot-pounds of torque. The torque is also more usable now, where it peaks at 3,700 RPMs. A healthy increase for the Toyota GR86. It doesn't come anywhere close to the output offered by the Hyundai Veloster N and the Subaru WRX, both four-cylinder turbocharged engines. The Veloster N offers a 2-liter four-cylinder turbo with 6-speed manual, driving 275 horsepower and 260 foot-pounds of torque to the front wheels. The Subaru WRX offers a 2.4-liter four-cylinder boxer N turbocharged engine with 6-speed manual, but instead puts its power down to the ground through all four wheels, offering all-wheel drive. Comes in slightly less than the Veloster N at 271 horsepower and 258 foot-pounds of torque. In comparison, the underpowered, and is it really underpowered considering how light this car is? We're going to find out. Mazda MX-5 Miata comes with a 2-liter four-cylinder naturally aspirated engine that puts out 181 horsepower and 151 foot-pounds of torque. So with this power, let's take a look at the performance specs. Let's compare these four cars when it comes to performance. Let's start off with the Toyota GR86. Does 0 to 60 in 5.4 seconds, a huge improvement. Quarter mile time of 14 seconds at 101 miles per hour. A skid pad of 0.98 Gs, which is fantastic, and a very respectable braking from 70 miles per hour and 156 feet. Both the Hyundai Veloster N and the Subaru WRX put out the same 0 to 60 in quarter mile times, or at least very close to the same times, with the Veloster coming in at 5.4 seconds, which matches the GR86. Quarter mile time slightly slower at 14.1 seconds at 100 miles per hour. And the Subaru WRX just a tad slower than the Toyota GR86 at 5.5 seconds 0 to 60, and just a tad faster at 13.9 seconds at 101 miles per hour in the quarter mile. So it goes to show that it's not all about the engine size and the power output. A car that has significantly less power output, but because it is so light, and I'll get into the curb weight in a second here, but because it's so light, it doesn't have to have that much power to be able to drive those rear wheels. Granted, it's still not as fast as the Toyota GR86, 0 to 60 in quarter mile, which it lags slightly behind at 5.7 seconds, and the quarter mile at 14.5 seconds. So a half a second behind the Toyota GR86 and 6 miles per hour slower in the quarter mile. Let's take a look at the skid pad. 0.90 Gs. Nowhere close to the Toyota GR86's 0.98 Gs. And the stopping distance for the Miata, yeah, it's a light car, but the brakes could use some upgrading, I think. 170 feet for a sports car is not that impressive. I think when it comes to our performance figures, the Mazda MX-5 Miata has been outclassed by the others. Let's take a look at the EPA mileage ratings. Now the Veloster N, the Subaru WRX, and the Toyota GR86, relatively speaking, are all very comparable, which is surprising given the higher power outputs of the Veloster N and the WRX. I would have expected either they would be a lot less than the Toyota GR86, or actually, I will flip that over and say I would expect the Toyota GR86 to get better gas mileage from its normally aspirated engine than what is shown here. The Mazda MX-5 Miata is the king of gas mileage when it comes to this comparison. This is hugely impressive. 34 miles per gallon on the highway. That's phenomenal, and that's probably attributed to its light weight. We have four very different cars. So we have the Toyota GR86 as a 2+2. We have the Veloster N that does have a back seat. It's a hatchback. And we have a true, quote, sedan from the Subaru WRX. So if you really do need that passenger volume in the back, that might be a good option. And in comparison, we have the Mazda MX-5 Miata, which has absolutely no back seat whatsoever and very little volume to speak of. Take a look at that cargo volume of 4.59 cubic feet for the soft top and 4.48 cubic feet for the RF. That is really disappointing. That's tiny. If you're comparing it to the Toyota GR86, it's 6.3 cubic feet. I'm surprised. I thought it would be bigger. But the Subaru WRX does have a proper trunk at 12.5 cubic feet, and the Veloster N, with its hatchback styling and the ability to fold down its rear seats, does come in with the highest cargo volume. So if that's something you need or you're looking for, definitely consider the Honda Veloster or think twice about the Toyota GR86. At 2,800 pounds is actually quite lightweight. So if you take the Toyota GR86 by itself, to me, anything less than 3,000 pounds is a pretty lightweight car, but in comparison to the Miata, it's still... the Subaru WRX is the heaviest of the bunch, coming in between 3,300 pounds and 3,500 pounds, depending on if you have the automatic or what trim level. And then the one that sits kind of in the middle here is the Veloster N at 3,100 pounds. So big difference in curb weight, big difference in the cargo volume, big differences in passenger space as well. Let's take a look at what third-party reviewers are saying about the 2022 Toyota GR86. It looks like the new 2022 Toyota GR86 addressed the old model's deficiencies. This car has been receiving rave reviews. If you're looking for the thrill of the driving experience, you might want to consider the Toyota GR86. With that said, I want to thank you for joining today, and until next time.